Welcome back to the New Player's Guide for World of Tanks. Within this episode I'm going to be showing you everything you need to know about the garage. This includes crew, equipment, ammunition and consumables. As well as that I'm going to be showing you the tech tree and which tech tree lines you might want to go down depending on your playstyle. So let's get straight into this. So first things first, this is how a stock garage might look like. It will have something like this at the top right hand corner, which will show your firepower, survivability, mobility, concealment and spotting. Now these numbers alone don't really show us anything and don't provide us with any additional information. However, you can click on all of these and it'll bring down more detailed stats. Now, I'm not going to go through them all as they are pretty self-explanatory of what they do. On the left over here, we have our crew. Now, as you can see, mine has 127% on the left-hand side here. Yours might say 50, 75 or 100. I don't know what tanks you have, so obviously they're the three main ones that you can choose from when you get a new tank. Right at the start, from tier 1, I can't remember where you get 100% crew or a 50% crew. Either way, your crew is still very important to your tank. As you progress through the game, your crew will get better. The more battles that you play in your tank, the higher percentage of your crew will get. Now this will go up to 100%. Once you reach 100%, you can then start getting different crew skills and consumables and equipment to help boost that even further, which we'll go through later on in the video. Now if you right click on one of your crew members, go to personal file, yours will probably say 50% or whatever it says, so don't worry too much about what that says there. The one thing that you want to do is look at your skills. Now all of these do pretty much give you an explanation of what is actually going on, so I'm not going to go through all of them. But what I will say is that some of these crew skills have got an activation once it reaches 100%. Now this is very, very bad for a new player because they might choose their skill for the first time and then think, what's going on? I don't have it. For example, Sixth Sense. As you can see, Sixth Sense icon here, this is the Sixth Sense skill. Perk comes into effect after it reaches 100%. Now this can be quite confusing because all the way up till 100%, you don't get anything. Which is why I'd recommend if you're going to choose your first skills, make them something that doesn't have 100%. A lot of people will just say go for repairs on heavy tanks, and I would agree with that, but really choose whatever you really feel like having. So for example, Snapshot, Smooth Ride, stuff like that, they're really great ones to choose from for your first skill because they progress as you go up. So you're at 1%, that's how good the skill is going to be. If you go to 100%, it's going to be the best skill that you can be. Once you do get to 100% for your first skill, you can then reset them here for either free, which will give it down to 80%, 90% or 200 gold, and you can get it to 100%. Now, just because it says 80%, it only affects the skill. As long as you have got 2 skills or 1 skill, whatever it might be, you can then reset it and you can choose, as you can see here, the skill goes up or down in a percentage. Now I wouldn't recommend resetting this for gold. At most, this is what I normally do. So when my crew skill reaches 100%, say I want Sixth Sense for example, I might have chosen repairs for this tank, and then I'll go to get it to 100%, I'll reset it and bring it back down so that then I can choose Sixth Sense and then play maybe 1 or 2 battles, get it back to 100%, I've got Sixth Sense. I can move on to my next skill then. Another one that you really want to have after you get a few skills going, maybe once you've got your 2 skill crew, so this is quite far down the line if you're a new player at least, is Brothers in Arms. Brothers in Arms is very, very, very nice skill to have, as yes, it does need to have everyone having it. So each of the crew members need to have this perk on them and it's at 100% for it to work. But it does give you plus 5% to everything, to your crew skills, overall to the tank. So now if there are any more questions about skills, please do comment, but I'm not going to go and try and complicate it anymore. That's kind of like the basic understanding of skills, and that's all that you really need to know right at the beginning. Now moving on to ammunition and consumables. Now what you want to do here is click this service button, and this will bring up your ammunition loadout and your consumables respectively. As you can see, there is also 3 check marks. This is to resupply automatically, and it will tell you what they're trying to resupply. Obviously, repair, resupply, and resupply here, which will be your repairs, ammunition, and consumables. I would advise all 3 of these being ticked. There isn't really a reason why you wouldn't want these ticked, so just tick them and kind of forget about it. For the ammunition types, these are the 3 kind of main types of ammo. The only different one might be that instead of armor piercing composite rigid rounds, which are these ones here, you might have heat, which is high explosive anti-tank. As you can see, we have AP, which is armor piercing, and HE, high explosive. Now within every single tank there is always a normal standard round, and that will vary between tanks, and there is also a kind of premium special gold round that will cost you more money, but it also has increased penetration. Now high explosive is kind of misleading to some players because it might seem like it does the most damage. Because for example, if we look at this gun, as you can see here, we have the average damage here, 250, 250, 330. As you can see, we've got AP, APCR, and high explosive. And like 330 damage might seem, okay, yeah, that's amazing, I'm just going to use that. But it only has 50 penetration. Whereas this has 190, this has 247, and then this has 50. So really, HE is not useful unless you're shooting at very lightly armored tanks, or you want to do some almost guaranteed damage. Sometimes it doesn't do any damage, but most of the time it will do some form of damage. Very useful if you want to interrupt a cap, for example. Now moving on to consumables, this is how I'd recommend every single person that is starting the game to have their consumables. Now kind of don't really listen or look at the other ones because they're not really worth it at the start of the game. When you're at the start of the game, you want to kind of save as many credits as you can so you can progress through the tiers and get your new tanks. And some of these consumables do cost 20,000 credits each. What I will talk about though quickly is these large consumables, or the premium consumables, which cost 20,000 credits each. As you can see here, we have a large repair kit. Now, I'm pretty sure everyone knows what a repair kit would do. It's going to repair your vehicle. A small repair kit will only repair one module of the vehicle. So, for example, you get shot at, you lose a track. You then go and click your 5 key, because it'll be 4, 5, 6 on the keyboard, and then you can choose the module that you want to repair. The reason why I have the repair kit on the 5 key is because the tracks is on the 5 key too, and most of the time you're going to get tracked, so you can quickly tap 5-5, get your tracks back, get out of there. A small repair kit will only repair one module, then it will have a 90-second cooldown, and then you'll be able to repair another module again. If you get shot at again and you lose your track, within that 90-second cooldown, you won't be able to repair anything. What a large repair kit will allow you to do is not only it gives you a flat out bonus of 10% speed to module repairs. So what this means is if you do lose a track, your track isn't going to just be permanently off your tank. You're going to slowly repair it back, and this will give you plus 10% as a flat out bonus across the whole battle. As well as that, it's going to repair multiple items. So if you get your turret knocked out and say your tracks at the same time, you can then just press this, press the 5 key, and bang, you've got both of them back up. Or any other module that is broken, it will all be repaired instantly. Then you have a 90-second cooldown, same applies. If you do get shot at within the 90-second cooldown, you won't be able to use it. Large first aid kit is much the same. The small one can only revive one crew member. The large one can revive all of them. As well as that, it's going to give you a minus 5% to stun duration and a 15% chance that your crew will not be injured. Now, this is quite useful for heavy tanks because a lot of the time you're going to get hit by artillery and your crew is going to get injured. So this might be useful if you are in a heavy tank, but I would not suggest using a large repair kit or a large first aid kit at the start within the first, I would at least say, up until tier 5. You might want to start using them at tier 5 if you've got loads of credits. Extra combat rations, this just gives you a flat out 10% to all crew skills and perks during the course of the battle, as it says right there. This is really nice to have, but unlike these two, this will only cost you 20,000 credits if you use it. This extra combat rations, and it will be called different things on different nations. For example, the USA as cola. This will be used within the battle, guaranteed. So right as you even enter the battle, you've just spent 20,000 credits. You're going to be charged 20,000 credits unless you have a load stockpiled in your depot. So I would not suggest using this unless you have a lot of credits. Automatic fire extinguisher is the one thing that I would recommend. And this is something I would recommend maybe once you understand the game and you really want to, push through and maybe become a bit of a better player. Now, plus 10% to fire protection is amazing because it's giving you basically a plus 10% that you're not going to spend 20,000 credits. So as well as that, if you do get set on fire, it's going to put it out automatically, pretty much instantly. So you're not going to burn for ages and then be like, oh, messing around, clicking all the keys, trying to work it out. It'll just put it out instantly, 20,000 credits. So this is actually worth it. This is worth it on premium vehicles, but I'm not going to go into premium vehicles today. I'm not too sure if I'm going to make a premium vehicle video because, yeah, they're pretty self-explanatory what they do. They just earn you more credits. But this is pretty nice if you have a load of credits and you have a premium vehicle. That's about it. I'm not going to talk about speed governors because these just increase your engine power, and it says it right there what it does. Okay, so that's pretty much wraps it up for the ammunition and consumables. We're now just going to quickly talk about the equipment and then move on to the tech tree. Now for the equipment, this is going to be not applicable to the very new players, as you're not going to be able to afford it right at the start anyway, and as you progress it becomes a thing that you can buy. Straight away what I'm going to say, do not buy these if you want to go free to play. Unless you have a tank that you are going to keep, do not put any of these golden nut icons equipments on your tank, as these will cost 10 gold to demount. Now, as I said, if you're going to have a tank that you're going to keep forever, or you say you got a tier 8 premium from one of the mission marathons and you want to put this on it, go for it, because you know you're not going to sell it because that's your only tier 8 premium. Go for it. However, there are a few that you can use that aren't going to be costing gold to demount. Two of these being a camo net and binoculars. Now, what camo net and binoculars do is, camo net, pretty self-explanatory, it's going to go and give you more camouflage. Now, I don't know the exact values of it, but it does boost it by quite a bit. Binocular telescope is going to increase your view range. As you can see here down the bottom right, we have view range. If I take this off, you can see I have 404. If I put this on, it goes up to 505. Now, this isn't a standard all the time 505 view range. Now, when you're moving, you're going to have that 404 meters of view range, or whatever you have on your tank. And then once you go up to a bush, or you want to sit still somewhere, you wait a few seconds, it will then activate, and then you'll have the 505 meters view range. The same applies for the camo net. Now, this is why I suggest using these two in unison with each other, because they will apply at the same time. So you'll get the boost of camo and also the view range, which is very useful for tank destroyers. And really, the first one you want to buy is just binocular telescope, because it increases your view range so much, and it's kind of useful in any tank at lower tiers, because most of the low tiers have very poor view range. So having good view range in this game is really important. Having said that, say that you do have something and you want to keep the tank, or you're not going to be a free-to-play player and you want to put on the best equipment that you can. Well, different tanks are going to, perform differently, and they're going to have different needs. If you already have the maximum spotting range of 445 meters, for example, my Object 277 here, I have 450 meters view range. This is something that you would want to go for, as you have vents, which is going to give you a flat out 5% to all crew skills. It's going to give you a gun rammer, which is going to decrease the loading time by 10%, and then vert stabs for the 20% accuracy during movement and turret rotation. Now, if I didn't have this much view range, I would swap out vert stabs and go and get coated optics. This is going to give me 10% to my view range. Now, this is the kind of thing that I would recommend having. You'd have a gun rammer, your vents, and your coated optics. Now, with these, this is a solid setup for any tier, pretty much, any tank as well. There's not really a tank that wouldn't work with this. But getting the view range up is really important. You can buy an enhanced gun lane drive, which will give you plus 10% to aiming speed, but there's not really that many tanks that have a really long aiming time, and if you can put vert stabs on it, it negates that quite a bit as well. So I'd always recommend vert stabs over a gun lane drive unless you can't fit it. So like this Scorpion G, I like to run my Scorpion G with a enhanced gun lane drive. As well as that, I'm going to go and put on my binocular telescope, so I have all the view range, and I have a brilliant gun to go along with it. That's quite enough of the equipment. Let's now talk about the tech tree. Now, going up to the tech tree, which you can locate at the top of the screen, you're going to be welcomed with loads and loads and loads and loads of tanks. So many, and you don't really know what you want to go down. Most people will go down their line that they're from. For example, the British, I've gone down 2 of these lines. Yeah, the British tanks are pretty nice, but they're not really too beginner friendly. They do take some work to actually understand them. So what I'd recommend, along with everyone else in the community, you go down the Russian route, because why not? Basically, if you want a medium tank, you go and get the 430U. If you want a tank destroyer, you go between these two. Now, if you want to go and get the Object 268 version 4, then you can, but be warned, there are two tanks here which aren't the best. However, you could go and get an Object 704, which is arguably better than the tier 10, at least in my opinion. Tier for tier, I think this is one of the best tank destroyers in the game still. It's been around for bloody ages, and I love it to bits. I haven't bought it back yet because I'm really low on credits, but I'm trying to get there. But all of these tanks leading up to it are amazing. The ISU 152 is an amazing tank, it's beautiful. And all of these tanks right here going to the Object 430 are beautiful as well. Now, say you want to be a light tank player. Well, Russia has that for you too. You go down this route and get the T100LT. You want to be a heavy tank player? You have two choices. You can either go down for the rear turreted heavy tanks, which is the Object 705A, which is this tank, which looks beautiful. However, that's not really my playstyle too much, so I have the IS-7 and the Object 277. Now these two tanks are really nice, and I can show you them here. IS-7 like this is actually a custom camo skin that Wargaming were giving away at Christmas, and they also gave it away at the black market. I say giving it away, I mean, you know, I bought it. But also the Object 277. They're both really nice tanks, and I wouldn't recommend the Object 277 for a beginner, but once you've got a few thousand games under you, or you know, you've got to the IS-7 and you want to go down the T10, because if you look in the tech tree, it's on the same line, it just splits at tier 9. So go for the IS-7. You won't regret it because it's a great tank, it's got great armor, great gun, and it's got the most bounciest turret in the game. So yeah, I mean the IS-4 is really outdated and really needs updating, so do not go down the IS-4. Apart from that, what else would I recommend? Well, the American mediums are nice, not for the new player though. That's again once you've got a few thousand games and you understand the game a bit better. I wouldn't recommend going down the American heavies because the T110E5 is awful. It is just useless almost. French tanks, Batchat, great medium tank. It's got an auto-loader, so if that's what you kind of want, an auto-loader means that it's going to unload a clip into the enemy. So instead of having one shot in the normal tank and you fire it, it'll reload, and then you fire again within that reload time. After that reload time, in a Batchat, it will say take 30 seconds to reload 6 shells. In fact, I can tell you exactly what it will do. It will take 40 seconds to load the entire magazine, and within that magazine you have 5 shells, and the time between each shell for you to fire it is 2.73 seconds. This means that every 2.73 seconds you can fire a shell, and you're going to do this until you run out of ammo, which will be after 5 shells. Then you have a 40-second reload, and you can go again. So that's a really nice kind of assassin tank. I mean, I really want to get the Batchat, but I'm bloody stuck on the 12T, and it's not the best light tank in the game. That's the one major downside of the Batchat line, is that you have to go through the light tanks to get to them. There's no medium tank line that leads up to it, unfortunately. But yeah, apart from that, I wouldn't recommend any other French tanks. Maybe the Foch B, but not the greatest. It's a fun tank to use, but it's not the best. As I've already spoken about them, the German tanks. Yeah, German tanks are. They really need a bit of a buff, really, because I mean the Grilla 15 is really nice, but yeah, it's not really the best. The Leopard one's actually really nice, and the grind isn't too bad to go down and get the Leopard one. It recently got buffed, and so did, well, all 3 of these tanks got buffed, but the Leopard one got buffed quite a bit, and it's actually a really nice tank. It just doesn't have any armor. So this is a tank line that is really a glass cannon. It's got a good gun, it's got good DPM, stuff like that. It's a medium tank, but it doesn't have any armor. So you have to really be conservative with your hit points because you know that you're not really going to bounce any shots. Apart from that, I wouldn't recommend going down. Maybe get a mouse. Mouse is pretty fun. But yeah. Again, not for the new player. Chinese tanks, forget about it. Japanese tanks, yeah, okay. I mean, if you're a new player and you kind of... Japan is the only other nation that I would suggest a new player to actually go down. Because these tanks are stupid. I mean, they're fun, don't get me wrong. Like, they all have these derp guns which have... For example, look at this. So this will have a 360 damage shot at tier 5 with 60 penetration. Now, this is also 60 penetration with the HE rounds. So, yeah, it's quite fun to use. It also has decent armor, and the OI just improves on that even further. As you can see, the OI has 121 penetration with a 700 damage shot. And then you can go and get a 75 penetration with 890 damage gun. Like, it's so good. It's so fun to use. These little derp guns are so much fun. Never use AP in them though. It might say 121, but just forget about that. Only use HE. It's so fun. You knock out crew members, you knock out modules. It's great. They're so much fun to use. I would recommend going down the Japanese route. It doesn't involve any skill whatsoever to play these tanks. As you can see, I have got to tier 5. I sold mine. It just takes no skill whatsoever. And the armor is unbelievably good. It's almost OP. But yeah, so yeah, I'll go down the Russian... Yeah, go down the Japanese heavy route if you really want to. Wouldn't advise the medium tanks. They're not really that good. They are nice. They're a bit like the Leopard 1, where they're glass cannons. So, yeah, if that's your cup of tea, then sure. Czechoslovakian, again, this is like the Batchat. So, it has the autoloader, and it fires a lot faster between the rounds. As you can see here, it's going to be 1.5 seconds between each shot and 25 seconds to reload the entire magazine. You get 4 shots in the magazine as well. However, you do less damage, and you don't really have that good of penetration. So, I mean, yeah, it's quite fun, this line, but nah. And the tier 8 is absolutely awful. You're going to, for anyone who is maybe has a few thousand games, don't go down this line yet. I would wait until you can kind of save up a lot of free experience to actually be able to fully upgrade this tank, because this tank is a dog. It is so bad. Yeah, it's just not very good. Polish tanks I haven't gone down. They're okay. They're quite well armored. They have big guns, but yeah, they're not new player friendly. Swedish tanks. Now, you could go down any of these routes. Swedish tanks are actually amazing. You can go down any of these routes. I wouldn't recommend them to be your first line to go down. Maybe your second if you wanted to. But yeah, these are all really nice tanks. All the tier 10 tanks are great for Sweden. On the Italian line, these have a auto reloading mechanism. So it's a bit like an autoloader, but instead of having all the shells in your magazine instantly and say you wait like 40 seconds, you'll be reloading them over time. It'll go to a maximum, say 3. So if I can show you. Let me go to my Progesso 46 and go to the gun. So here we have 3 shells in the magazine. Time between each shot is 2. Time for loading 1 shell. As you can see, it's going to take me 12 seconds on the very first shell. Then it's going to take me 8 seconds. Then it's going to take me 9 seconds. And then it's going to take me 8 seconds. So that means that first shell being loaded into the gun, 12 seconds. The next one after that, while you still got your shell in the gun, is being loaded in the background, and it's going to take 9 seconds. Then once that's done, you can have another shell being ready, and you've got 2 shells in the magazine that you can fire instantly, ready whenever you want, but the other one's being loaded in and it's going to take 8 seconds. Once all 3 are loaded in, you can then fire, and you could just fire 1 shell and it would only take 8 seconds. So these tanks are really nice, but they are a completely different mechanism to the game, and I wouldn't recommend them to be your first line to go down. So lines to go down: Type 5 Heavy, IS-7, T100LT, either the Object 704 or the Object 268 version 4, Object 430, and that's pretty much it. So once you've gone down one of them, which might take you a very long time, who knows, for a new player it probably will, because the grind is quite grueling, to be honest. This game can be really grindy at times, but the reward of unlocking that next tank is so nice. Anyway, hopefully you did enjoy this video. If it did help you, then make sure to leave a comment saying that it did, and if there is any questions, please comment and I'll try and help you out as best as I can. So hopefully you learned something, and I'll see you in the next one.